Russian refineries are 38% destroyed. Iranian proxies now have weapons with 7 times the range that knocked out half of Saudi production in 2019. Ukrainian drones just struck 1,240 miles inside of Russia, and oil is at $61 a barrel. That's mathematically impossible, unless someone's lying to you. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to expose the deception that's keeping oil artificially suppressed. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. I've been analyzing energy markets for almost 2 decades. The EIA claims we produce 13.6 million barrels daily. That's a lie. We're actually producing 11 million barrels of real crude. They are padding the numbers, and I have the proof. Here's what they don't want you to understand. During the 2008 financial collapse, when banks were failing daily, oil crashed from $147 a barrel to $40. Adjusted for today's inflation, that $40 crash price equals $61 today. We are at precisely that level. We're trading at depression prices while the economy thrives. Think about this for a second. Ukraine just struck Russian refineries 1,240 miles from their border. The Houthis possess weapons that dwarf what they used in 2019 to cripple Saudi Arabia. And here's the part that nobody's connecting. Russia is feeding targeted data to Iranian proxies. That means Russian satellites are showing the Houthis exactly where to hit Saudi oil infrastructure. Real-time intelligence, ship movements, pipeline weaknesses, refinery weak points. And yet oil remains at $61 a barrel. Why? You'll claim we are swimming in excess supply. They'll point to the EIA forecast showing rising inventories. But there's the deception laid bare. Pay attention to this. The EIA says America produces 13.6 million barrels daily. Wrong. Genuine crude oil, 11 million barrels. That's it. Natural gas liquids, 1.2 million. Not oil. Ethanol, 0.8 million. That's corn alcohol. Refinery gains, 0.6 million. Volume expansion, not production. They're labeling everything as actual oil. Actual crude production? We're not producing 13.6 million barrels. We're producing 11 million. That fake 2.6 million barrel cushion, it doesn't exist. And when the markets realizes this, prices explode. But wait, it gets worse. The Permian Basin, our supposed savior, is suffocating in produced water. For each oil barrel extracted, we're hauling up to 5 to 6 of toxic water requiring expensive disposal. Some operators spend $40 per barrel purely on water management. Here's the hidden catastrophe. As wells mature, water ratios worsen. Wells that began at 90% oil, 10% water, now yield 15% oil, 85% water. But this isn't ordinary water. It's radioactive, loaded with heavy metals and toxins. Disposal wells trigger earthquakes. The EPA's intervening. Texas exhausted its disposal capacity. Do the math with me. With $61 oil, $35 water expenses, and $25 extraction cost, you're underwater before you pay a single employee. The math doesn't work. Production becomes impossible at these prices. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The Saudis understand the game perfectly. American shale requires $75 to $90 oil for profitability. So they maintain prices below 70. Starve American shale, await implosion, then control the global supply. They've stated this explicitly in closed-door OPEC sessions. When shale production collapses, they set whatever price they want. Meanwhile, the EIA perpetuates illusions. 7 consecutive years of failed shale projections. 7 years constantly inflating estimates. Forever optimistic. You want to know who's been accurate? Rystad Energy. Norwegian analysts without American political interest. Their record, 7 years, every forecast accurate. The EIA, 7 years. Every prediction failed, yet markets worship the EIA's word. Speaking of Rystad, they just unveiled the devastating data everyone's ignoring. We've assumed 500 barrels await discovery. Rystad's verdict: delete 456 billion. That's 91% of the supposed reserves wiped out, evaporated. Imaginary oil. We possess 14 years of verified reserves. Listen to this carefully. Shale wells declined 70% within 12 months. 70% constant drilling barely maintains production. We've exhausted premium locations. Remaining sites cost double, yield half. Prime drilling inventory depleted. We're literally scraping the bottom. Now observe this week's events. Not historical, current. Monday, October 7th, Ukrainian drones struck Antipitsky refinery in Tyumen. Tuesday, October 8th, Houthis fired missiles at Saudi Arabia's Yanbu terminal. Missed target, but attempted. Wednesday, October 9th, carnage confirms 38% Russian refining capacity damaged. Media coverage, zero. These aren't isolated incidents. The system disintegrating live. Let me give you the authentic Russian situation. Pre-war production, 10.5 million barrels daily. Ukrainian strikes eliminated 1.1 million barrels refining capacity. Pipeline attacks jeopardize 3 million Siberian barrels. Baltic terminals operate at 50%. That's 850,000 barrels stranded. Bloomberg confirms Russian crude exports surging. They cannot refine their own oil. Pure desperation. Russia requires $85 oil for survival, receiving $40 after discounts. Daily deficit, 400 million. Iran needs $163 oil for budget bounce, receiving $35 post-sanctions. Daily deficit, 250 million. Total, $650 million daily, 237 billion yearly. Both nations approach economic implosion. Here's the terrifying part. One successful Saudi infrastructure strike, oil reaches $150 a barrel. Russia gains 800 million daily. Iran gains 400 million daily. Their death spiral reversed. Market stability destroyed. The incentive for escalation has never been higher. The defensive capabilities have never been more vulnerable. This isn't speculation. It's mathematics. Remember September 14th, 2019? Drone struck Saudi's Abeck facility, eliminated 5.7 million barrels daily, half of Saudi's output. Oil surged 20% within hours, but those were primitive weapons. Range 186 miles, payload 33 pounds. Today, Iran gave the Houthis the KSIP-2K drone. The range is now 1,240 miles, 7 times that of the previous ones. The Ghadar ballistic missile, 1,650-pound warhead, which is 50 times greater. The speed, Mach 5. If 2019 toys knocked out half of Saudi production, what happens when these weapons hit? It gets even more coordinated. Wall Street Journal exposed it. Reuters confirmed it. Defense intelligence verified it. Russia provides real-time targeting intelligence to the Houthis through Iranian Revolutionary Guard channels. Let me explain what this means. Russian military satellites identify the exact GPS coordinates of critical oil infrastructure. They track tanker movements through the Strait of Hormuz. They map pipeline junction points. They identify which storage facilities are full and which refineries are running at capacity. Then they feed this intelligence through Iranian channels directly to Houthi missile operators. The Houthis aren't randomly firing anymore. They have Russian eyes in the sky, showing them precisely where to strike for maximum damage. This is coordinated. This is happening now. Meanwhile, everyone is talking about green energy. Alex Epstein nailed it. 1 gallon of gasoline equals 1,000 pounds of batteries. Boeing 747 needs 60,000 gallons to cross the Pacific, and batteries, 60 million pounds. The plane would weigh more than the Empire State Building. That's not technology, that's physics. Wind turbines need 200 gallons of oil per year. Solar panels require petroleum plastics. EVs need diesel-powered mining. Green energy doesn't replace oil, it depends on it. The entire renewable revolution requires petroleum. Without oil, green energy collapses. Here's the global hypocrisy nobody discusses. America became a superpower burning cheap oil. Now we tell India, with 1.4 billion people, you can't do what we did. If India used oil like Americans, they'd need 84 million barrels daily. That's 82% of global production, just for India. The math doesn't work. India just announced 500 new coal plants. China's building 2 per week. They are done listening. The developing world needs energy. They'll get it however they can. So let me paint the perfect storm for you. Russian refineries, 38% damage. Iranian weapons, 7 times the range, 50 times the payload. Saudi defense, 150-to-1 cost disadvantage. Houthis actively attacking with Russian satellites guiding their missiles. American shale, 70% first-year depletion. Global investment down 50% since 2014. Reserves, 91% of undiscovered oil doesn't exist. And oil trades at financial crisis prices. Ask yourself, why isn't this headline news? Turn on any financial network. What are they covering? Israel-Gaza ceasefire, stock records, corporate earnings, not refinery attacks, not missile attempts, not weapon proliferation, because acknowledging the risk would trigger the crisis. So they feed you peace deal optimism while hiding supply vulnerability. The truth would cause panic. Panic would spike prices, so they lie. Everything is converging now. For 15 years, they've suppressed oil prices through paper markets. 100 paper barrels trade for every physical barrel. Paper responds to headlines. Physical responds to reality. They've kept oil artificially cheap while reserves depleted. Investment collapsed. Supply disappeared. Now the bill comes due. This divergence cannot last when it breaks. Oil won't rise gradually, it will explode higher. The establishment doesn't want you thinking about this. They want you focused on quarterly earnings and peace celebrations. But I'm telling you, as someone who's analyzed these markets for almost 2 decades, who's seen the decline curves, we're at the end of the shale miracle. OPEC knows it. They are watching American shale bleed out, waiting to strike. The Russians are finished. The Iranians are cornered. We are about to lose our only buffer against supply shock. The perfect storm isn't coming, it's here. If you want to know more about the energy sector and opportunities, check out the description below. Look, I need to be clear. This is not investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy who's been analyzing these markets long enough to see patterns. Do your own research, talk to your professionals, but don't say nobody warned you when oil prices skyrocket over $100 a barrel and the truth finally comes out. If this opened your eyes, do me a favor, subscribe, share it, leave a comment. The algorithm buries content that tells the truth about energy markets. Big tech doesn't want you knowing that their green revolution depends on cheap oil. They definitely don't want you knowing we're about to run out of the cheap oil. The powers that be will shadow ban this because the only way to control the narrative is to control information. The more engagement this gets, the more people we can wake up before it's too late. The clock's ticking. Shell's dying. Russia's collapsing. The Middle East is a powder keg. And your government's lying to you about all of it. The question isn't whether oil prices explode, it's whether you'll be ready when they do. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.